What's going on, Trojan family? Victory Sunday here on a beautiful Sunday morning in the Southland. USC Trojans, I don't know if we'll call it an upset, but they do defeat the 15th ranked Wolverines in pretty dominant fashion, 31-13. Joining me as always, the Madman was at the Call-A. Great atmosphere. Excited to talk to everyone about it on this very good feeling Sunday. Can't complain about it whatsoever. Madman, how you doing, brother?
Doing well, Rye. Can't complain at all. Victory Sunday to see the Trojans play like that against really a decorated Big Ten brand and come through emphatically as they did. Electric Coliseum. Man, it felt a little bit like the old days, and certainly I know we're going to get into it, but a signature moment for Lincoln Riley here in year 4. So can't wait to talk about it. And these Sundays are always the most pleasant, right? When you have an emphatic victory, sure as heck beats the alternative.
Yeah, it sure does. I'm thinking next week, obviously, which we'll get to throughout the week, but USC travels to Notre Dame. And I remember doing Victory Sunday 2 years ago. I was out in South Bend in this janky hotel, and it was a very much more somber victory. It wasn't a Victory Sunday. It was a dominant defeat Sunday. But we'll talk Notre Dame later. This game looked amazing. Madman, I got just came in. Got the Mayava Lemon 2025 campaign shirt. Mike's in the way, so no one can really see it. But pick those up at LAFBnetwork.com. But as everyone probably knows, or if they don't, I was at a wedding last night. Shame, boycott fall weddings. Good college buddy, got to reconnect. So I was not at the Coliseum. I was up till 2:30 last night watching the game. So I did watch it so I could know what I'm talking about here. But let's start with this, man. Just you were there. Talk to me about the atmosphere. I was so bummed I missed it. It looked incredible. Saw everyone on Twitter just talking about it. Like, just what was the atmosphere really like?
No, it was great. I mean, it was absolutely electric. It felt like, the Pete days. Obviously, the Collie is different than the Pete days now with the luxury suites and whatnot, but you had probably 30%, 33%, sort of Michigan fans there. It was probably a 2/3, 1/3 split. They were loud, but the Trojan family was even louder. And I think the back and forth interplay over the course of the game was fantastic. Kind of the chants going back and forth in every section. And you just felt there was an electricity and a buzz before the game started. You felt the juice in the building. Some games it's sort of a slow roll in and, the crowd kind of gets going midway through the first quarter. This one felt like there was juice in the building, even 10 minutes before kickoff. Juju Watkins, let out the tunnel run. Got Lendale involved with some of the chants as well. So you could tell, pulling out all the stops with the Trojan family. You see these two iconic brands. The electricity was absolutely palpable and so proud to be there. Right. We gotta get you to one of these big games. Now, this is 2 now, that Victory Bell 22 game and now this game, arguably the 2 biggest Lincoln Riley wins, man, so there'll be much more to come. So gotta have you there, man.
I mean, maybe I shouldn't be. They've won both of them. Maybe that's a good sign. I've been at literally every other game, and we know how the seasons have gone. I was at the LSU game in Vegas, and they pulled that off. So that was a big win that I got to be a part of. But real quick, Jeff could always sing. I want that shirt. It's right below, or just go to LAFBnetwork.com and click the shop in the menu. So easy to find. But yeah, I mean, even from TV, you could tell it looked amazing. Just a fun game. And that's what these matchups are going to be like, which is so cool to see. And just makes it that much more special, I think, when you get kind of that college atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, I remember I saw on TV and, when they were running out, it was like already ready to go. Like you said, it wasn't like this slow. And that's just kind of how LA is. I mean, even I know there's jokes about the Dodgers game, even, right? People aren't there till the 3rd inning or whatever. So this was awesome to see. It was everyone showed out and just looked incredible. And speaking of showing out, I mean, this Trojans team, Jamal, I think what was, we'll get into kind of the stats and talk here and take people's questions, but I think what made this win so, you can say eye-opening, so special, whatever, is if they would have came out here, beat Michigan 38-35, great. It's a good win. Like, we're not taking anything away from that, but there'll still be those questions. Like, okay, cool. We know Lincoln Riley can play offense. We know Lemon and Lane and Mayava are looking good. But the fact that, and we'll get to injuries later, but the fact that the defense came out and looked the way they did, 316 total yards, held them to 109 total rushing yards. So I think that spoke volumes that this was a game that USC won like Big Ten football teams play. It wasn't your classic kind of Pac-12 shootout. So that to me was the big takeaway. Not only did they win, not only did they win by double-digit points, but the way they won was like the blueprint for Big Ten football victory. What did you think being there watching that live?
No question about it, right? I mean, so much was made of the Lincoln Riley record at USC against top 25 competition. It was 4-11 coming into this game, and even the 4, right? I mean, we alluded to it. That Victory Bell game was 48-45, right? It was just sort of a track meet. There was that one game, against Notre Dame that year with Caleb, kind of an offensively challenged Notre Dame team, still found a way to put up 27 in the Coliseum, right? And you still win. Then you obviously had that at the Louisville game in the Holiday Bowl, which was all about Miller Moss and kind of going back and forth. And then obviously the LSU game that you alluded to. But this was the first win in this Lincoln Riley era against a top 25 opponent where they played such complementary football on both sides in the trenches. You said it best, right? This was, 109 yards of rushing for Michigan on 3.5 yards a carry. Everything was an absolute slog. This was a game for the linebackers as well, where you saw Gentry, you saw Stevens, you saw Jaden Walker, 3 of the top 4 tacklers in this game, packed the box. And, and then you had the defensive line basically winning their one-on-one matchups pretty repeatedly. This was a decisive victory, and I think that's what we're so excited about. USC's ability to run seemingly at will at times offensively, and their ability to stop the run really in a suffocating fashion. Those are the 2 ingredients to be able to make noise in the Big Ten. This just felt like a different win. This felt like a Big Ten physical marquee victory, and I think that's why we're so excited, because we just haven't felt this way after a victory against a top 25 opponent in the last 4 years. And you could just tell from the physicality on both lines, Ryan, but there was an urgency and there was just a fire and a desire. And I think Lincoln Riley talked about it, that it didn't matter what the injuries were. This team just was not going to be denied. I think, having that bye week, that 2 weeks of preparation was absolutely critical. And Lincoln was so animated at various points in the game. I know we'll talk about it. The field goal to make it go up 24-7, he was going crazy there. And that's probably the most animated I've seen him in a post-game interview, really since his time at USC. He said, we look like a physical Big Ten football team. That was a physical Big Ten win. You could tell that even though they had blocked out the noise finds a way of seeping in. He wanted to really challenge that narrative that this team, didn't know how to play Big Ten football, and nothing could be further from the truth last night. And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, from a, almost 150-yard difference in terms of total yards. But if you take away the McCree fumble and you take away the Maeva interception, I mean, this thing was 31-13, but it felt a lot worse than 31-13. 31-13 was a little bit of a soft score here in terms of how that game went, particularly in the second half.
100%. I was gonna get to that, and obviously the 69-yard touchdown from Michigan that just kind of, it wasn't like a blown coverage, it was just kind of a weird, perfect seam pass, and then just a missed tackle from Christian Pierce. But I think to those turnover points, what was good about that is while this game was a dominant game, it wasn't a perfect game from USC. It wasn't like they just played absolutely perfect. Everything went their way. Like, they still had mistakes and still dominated the game. And I think that's a huge key point here is, they had the fumble in the red zone from Lake McCree. They had both the turnovers were in the red zone. Like, they would have at minimum got 6 points on both of them. The way Ryan Sayeri's been kicking, at most they could have got 14 out of it. And this game would have really been turned on its head and been in the 40s. So the fact that they had those miscues, they kept the momentum. The defense had obviously their moments, and Bishop Fitzgerald with his 2 interceptions. I think just is really a turning point, and we'll see kind of how this goes for the rest of the season, but certainly paints a good picture of the culture of this team and the pushback from what has been said, the last 2 weeks. I think having a bye after Illinois was a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing to get healthy, even though they're still missing guys, which we'll get to, but get healthier, kind of reset, refresh, but it's also 2 weeks where they just get to hear everyone laying it on them for what happened at Illinois. And so they couldn't move past it quickly. Well, now they can because of how this game went. So let's get to this running game, Madman. I mean, Eli Sanders, the play was just a quick little out. He went to the catch, went to the sidelines, didn't even look that like gimpy getting up, and then all of a sudden doesn't come back in. And we hear Riley say they're fearing he's done for the season. So I don't know if it's a torn ACL or what, but didn't look serious. But your heart goes out to the kid as a redshirt senior. And then Wayman Jordan goes out, and we don't know the severity yet. They're looking more today, but it will be multiple games, I think, for sure. The hope is he'll be back for a late run. King Miller, I mean, all hail King Miller with an outstanding performance. And then Brian Jackson doesn't even dress for this game, considered out. They go to the league offices, get the approval. He go to the locker room in the middle of the third quarter just to get the pads on, get out there, and then he pops one for a touchdown too. I mean, what are your thoughts on just the offensive line who have had injuries, and then these 2 running backs coming in essentially cold and just like taking it to a Michigan front that is not what it was in 24, but it's still a top Big Ten front. I mean, let's not pretend that they're not a good front. They're not last year's front with 2 first-round picks, but they're still a really good Big Ten front. So, I mean, just incredible what these running backs were able to do.
No, it was absolutely sensational, Ryan. I think we got a taste of it, right, in the quote-unquote preseason where we said, look, this running back room is 5 deep, and you're not going to see a huge drop-off really from, RB1, RB2, all the way down to RB4, RB5. I mean, it's remarkable to think about. But I think, right, and I'm going to get to Miller and Jackson in just a second, but this comes back to Lincoln Riley because, this was a game, right, where it was set up for Riley to be old Lincoln Riley, right? Like, think about it. You get that opening drive touchdown, you're up 7-0. You're about to make it 14-0 and put Michigan on their heels the whole night. You get that fumble. Now Michigan, kind of wears the tempo down. You're now at 7-7. There's every reason for Lincoln Riley to sort of go back to the passing game. And we've talked about so much over the years, 1 stuffed run, 2 stuffed runs, and he would get spooked in years past. And then you'd see 8, 10, 11, 12 throws in a row. And here's a situation where now you're down your center, you're down your left tackle, you're down RB1, you're down RB2. Everything circumstantially would dictate for him to sort of go to the passing game, and he doubles and triples down on that running game. 35 runs to 32 throws, 265 yards rushing to 225 yards passing. So Lincoln Riley's commitment to stay with the running game, despite being deep on the depth chart with the running back, despite all of the offensive line injuries, I think he deserves a ton of credit. This is a true maturity moment here for Lincoln Riley, knowing that he would have to change and evolve. That Big 12 Lincoln Riley is going to be a different version than Big 10 Lincoln Riley. It's very similar. I don't want to compare the two by any stretch of the imagination, but it's when Saban realized after his first 3 rings that he was going to have to change to be a little bit more offensive-minded. The great coaches evolve, and Riley is showing that willingness to evolve and change, and it's tremendous dividends here. I mean, Rye, I thought, King Miller, that acceleration and his ability to cut in the open field is probably better than Jordan or Sanders. I mean, to be honest with you, from an explosiveness standpoint. And I thought the turning point in the game was that 3rd and 23, in that first drive in the third quarter. You have that sequence of penalties. Lemon actually caught the ball. They showed it, on that TV replay. He caught the ball. You don't review it. Then you get that unsportsmanlike on Lemon. Now you're all the way backed up. You're basically just sort of running it because it's a light box. You're trying to get some yards before you punt it. And that cut that he made on the safety and then the wiggle to sort of explode there was absolutely sensational. And then for him to finish it on that drive on that left side was terrific. And then the deep run on the very next possession that ultimately then was the Mayava interception. And then Jackson finishing it off with the game. But I think that stretch run play, Ryan, they really found something, really kind of going off tackle there. And just the explosiveness of both of those guys and the decisiveness was significant. And if this is the 2 that you're going to roll with at Notre Dame, you still got to like your chances because these 2 guys, I've been hungry for Brian Jackson all year in sort of a thunder and lightning type of situation. So I think that the balance of the King Miller explosiveness and burst with, I think, that Brian Jackson ability to run in between the tackles, I think is probably the best complement of two running backs in the entire room. But kudos to Lincoln Riley and King Miller. My goodness. Off of those three runs, Ryan, King Miller is already second leading rusher on the team. I mean, at the way this is going, he has a couple of runs against Notre Dame. He's going to lead the team in rushing with like 30 carries on the season. I mean, it's just been absolutely remarkable. He's still north of 10 yards. He's 10.7 yards per carry on the season right now. I mean, this is getting to be insanity.
Yeah. And Wayman Jordan is second in the Big Ten in rushing. So it's not like they have low rushing totals as a team. He's second in the entire conference. And then King Miller's right behind him already on the team. It's just remarkable. And, to those points, I think it's a great comparison. Again, not making that he's Nick Saban, but just that shift, that ideology and philosophical shift that, Lincoln Riley will see how much this progresses throughout the season. But I mean, yeah, this game was, even before the game, like we talked about how based on matchups, like this game was actually going to play better to USC throwing the football. I mean, Michigan was 59th against the pass, a little more stout against the run. When you looked at last week against Wisconsin, that first drive, Wisconsin goes down the field, runs the ball 8 out of 10 times, kind of just goes right in the teeth. After that drive, like nothing. They had 75 yards of total rushing yards in that game. So it really played into USC airing it out more. And the fact that they were so committed, even with the injuries, and successful, not just committed and, inefficient, still successful at it, I think speaks volumes on, yes, Lincoln Riley, on the play calling, and also on this team execution wise. I think with King Miller, this is what, and, as I've gotten much more heavy in kind of the recruiting game. This shows you that there are gems all over the country.
Absolutely.
And 5 stars matter, right? Like, you're a big brand. You should be getting 5 stars, 100%. So I'm not downplaying that, but it shows you that there are special talents that, sometimes have work ethic or bigger hearts or whatever out there that go unrecruited or under-recruited. King Miller had 3 offers: San Jose State, Portland State, and I think Nevada. That was it. And then USC offered him as a priority walk-on. This kid shows he should have had offers, right? So I think it just shows that when you look at the recruiting game, yes, you need 5 stars, but sometimes look for those 3 stars and what they have underneath those shoulder pads, underneath the helmet, because those guys can make a difference. I mean, look at the offensive line, right? I mean, I know he's injured, but Killian O'Connor, a walk-on, and he's your starting center. Mekhi Lemon, highly underrated, highly under-recruited out of Los Alamitos, arguably the best receiver in the country right now. So coaching matters, development matters, culture matters, and then just work ethic of these kids matter. And those can,
and also, Ryan, I mean, to that point, it's also, we talk so much about the flaws in the ranking system, right? Of teams from preseason. There's inherent flaws in the star system as well. So it's totally agree with you that you got to look holistically. But it's one of those things where it's not necessarily like these recruiting agencies are getting it right every time, or even 80 or 90% of the time. So I think the moral of the story is you have to do your own homework as a program on the guys that fit your system, both from a talent standpoint as well as from a culture standpoint, because we're getting to the point where there's so many teams, there's so many high school players that it's hard for any one recruiting agency to give the time and the detail to every single recruit. So that's why you have to have the onus on yourself to be able to find that fit. It's such a great point. And I think, again, Ryan, to the point with Riley, I think he really saw something here in terms of the type of offensive line that he had for this game relative to what the strengths and weaknesses of the Michigan defensive line were. Stayed committed to that run game. But I think the other key element of this game was how quickly he got the ball out from Mayava. It was a lot of quick throws. He had that seam when he needed it. A lot of inside screens to Lemon, quick out routes. I mean, the ball was out really, really fast. This was one of those games, if you noticed, Mayava usually gets 2, 3, 4, 5 deep shots a game. No real deep shots in this game. This was about getting the ball out quickly, staying committed to the running game. So I think there was just such a clarity of game plan with Lincoln Riley that it was absolutely significant. Now, I think we have to temper things just a bit because I think Michigan's strengths, were not things that were going to sort of highlight USC's weaknesses, right? It was the thing that we all knew. was Underwood going to be able to throw his way to making this game competitive and potentially a victorious outcome for Michigan? That was not the case. So I think now it's about taking all the good from this game, but then making sure that those weaknesses are in a position to succeed. But I will say, right, we've been hungry for it for weeks now. I think the biggest thing that happened in this bye week is the secondary getting a little bit more healthy and Kamari Ramsey going back to his natural position, because you just saw an element there of comfort. The secondary's still got their issues, but this was drastically different than what you saw, even in terms of kind of formation, scheme, comfort level with positioning and whatnot. So just a resounding victory and something we all should be extremely proud of.
100%. Yeah. And I think I was trying to, again, I was watching it late, so just pausing TV a few times. I think we saw Alex Graham out there for a couple snaps, which is what should have happened. He shouldn't have been starting and playing 100% of the snaps from the slot, but get him out there. So that's only going to improve. It seems like for sure DeCarlos Nicholson and Marcellus Williams are at this point your two real starting outside guys with, rotations here and there. So it's getting a lot more set. Things are really setting in. And so just hopefully keep seeing that improvement, like you said. And then, and we can talk defense now and then kind of wrap this up and look if there's any questions, but just seeing the bounce back from this defensive front. Cause I think that was from that Illinois game that was just so bizarre. This doesn't look like the identity. We knew the secondary had issues, but the defensive front was like the strength of this defense. And so seeing them bounce back in such a big way, and you can go down the list of the guys that played well. And then also, in Dan Lynn, and I think we've said this, there was a lot of people out there that, all right, this guy's a fraud, move on. It's all right, guys, let's settle down a little bit. This guy's still a very good defensive mind. And I think he showed in a lot of schematic shifts and a lot of different personnel packages. I mean, they ran a lot of three linebacker sets, which we kind of were asking for this game. They did it. Desmond Stevens, I thought, looked really good in this game. Jaden Walker just plays with his hair on fire. That guy's so fun to watch. We know, obviously, Eric Gentry, and him coming off the edge is so fun when he's not necessarily blitzing or rushing off the edge, but holding that edge on those RPOs. I mean, he just reads it correctly every time. And we saw that multiple times of those situations. So what a bounce back from this defensive front. I mean, Jakeem Stewart, still going to be the ceiling from that guy is unbelievable. Devin Tompkins, I thought, looked fantastic. Obviously he's had a big time sack. And so the whole front in general just really came out to play and show that, hey, we're not this soft front West Coast team. We can hang with the big boys, and they'll have a great opportunity to show that again in South Bend on the road. But yeah, I just think, what a bounce back. I think that's the big storyline here, is the way that they responded to how they performed 2 weeks ago.
No question about it, right? And, you mentioned, Tompkins had the 2 sacks. Jakeem keeps winning his individual battles in a significant way, as a kid who's so young and so talented. I think the point about Gentry's RPO game was significant. His ability, I think it's just the lateral quickness there, right? He has that ability to sort of follow the running back if he needs to. And then once he realizes the quarterback is holding it and then laterally go back, it's special. And I think once, Lynn realized that they were kind of going to that a little bit to try and get to the outside, to just have some variety in the run game, placing Gentry on that edge was absolutely significant. The 3 line, you sort of pack the box with the 3 linebackers. It was a linebacker game, which is what we expected. And the defensive line winning their individual battles. This is the shades of what we saw in those first 4 games. Oftentimes there was a discipline issue from a gap integrity standpoint, but there wasn't an issue about explosiveness. And I think that's why the anomaly against Illinois was so significant, is that they were just getting pushed back play over play. There was no explosiveness. So I think they heard it loud and clear. They played with an edge. There was a nastiness, and they were almost wanting Michigan to run the ball more. And I think that there was sort of a mindset there. Michigan sort of prides itself on a game being a 4-quarter game, 15 round, championship bout in boxing, that, hey, 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, those 1 or 2 yard runs become 5, 6, 7, 8 yard runs. And then by the 4th quarter, you pop 1 or you pop 2. And so Michigan wants to enforce their will. SC was hungry for Michigan to run the ball more, it felt like. So just terrific effort there. This was the type of performance that we thought this team was capable of. And it's just great to see it. Now, to your point, and we'll get into it a ton this week, things were not as bad as things seem to be against Illinois. And I think we also have to sort of temper expectations with this game. Now the key is going to be, can they emotionally self-regulate and kind of keep this level moving forward over the course of the second half of the season? But statement received, and Lincoln Riley should be very proud, as this was the signature win of his USC career, particularly in conference play.
Yeah, and it's going to be really exciting to see how this team continues this season. But I think what is very clear to me is that the future is very bright, as long as everything kind of can stay the course this year. Because we always obviously do our research of the opposing teams, and I know you guys had a great guest on that was able to kind of help on the call-in show on Wednesday. But I didn't really realize, like, when you look at the Michigan defense, they had one redshirt sophomore and every other starter is a junior or above. I think they had 4 or 5 redshirt seniors.
That's right.
So a lot of veterans on that defense. USC starting has 5 upperclassmen, 6 sophomores or below. So there was going to be growing pains. How do they respond? So the talent, I think, is undisputed. It's about discipline. It's about continued growth. It's about development. And Madman, 0 defensive penalties in this game. I mean, the growth and development is happening before our eyes, which I think is the exciting thing. Now, as you alluded to, and as we've said, like, how do they continue that now? And how do they take this win emotionally, get back to work, and, get ready for a huge game on NBC again next week in South Bend? So, but the development, when you have a young group, there's going to be some growing pains out there, which we've clearly seen before this game. But, yeah, I think just exciting to see that we are seeing the development and seeing the growth from a very young unit. I mean, this whole team is very young. I think that's the one thing that maybe a lot of people don't. I mean, even the offensive line outside of John Ray Reed, who's now stepped in, every single guy is a first-time starter other than Elijah Page. I mean, it's a young unit on offensive line. Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon, obviously 2 of the best in the country. They weren't like the featured guys last year even. It was almost more of the Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson show. Obviously, Jaden Mayava, first-time true starter. So a lot of just youth and inexperience on this team. And how they continue to mature and grow through the season is going to be how far they take them. But the future and beyond, I think, is very bright for this program and what Lincoln Riley's building.
No question about it, right? And I think you said it best. And obviously, so much about the recruiting excitement here and developing that pipeline is significant. But, I think we would be remiss to sort of end the show without mentioning kind of some individual brilliance. And Mekhi Lemon, particularly, I think the game truly swung in USC's favor. I think there was a narrative there that SC could have just run out with it, kind of get to 14-0. Obviously, the McCree fumble kind of restabilized the game for Michigan, but it was that middle 8, right? I mean, at 7-7, 4 minutes to go in the first half, you're wondering, man, if this thing goes to 7-7 at halftime, you're feeling uneasy as a USC fan because the game is playing into Michigan's hands. Like, they don't have to do that much offensively. They're in the game. They can stay kind of running in between the tackles. And there was sort of an uneasiness. That 30-yard out route on the Mayava scramble where Lemon was able to kind of keep his feet in, and then that touchdown. Because even at that moment, with about 14 seconds to go, you're at the 12-yard line, you felt like that they almost ate up too much time, and you're like, they're playing for the field goal. Good to get points, but even if it was 10-7, you were still feeling a little bit uneasy. That individual effort by Lemon to come down with that ball, he was not open. And that was a situation where he's just that talented. And I felt the energy of the stadium completely changed going up 14-7. Then even if it would have been 10-7 or it stayed at 7-7. And then on the flip side, in that second half, the individual brilliance of King Miller, those 3 runs. So those 2 catches by Mekhi Lemon, last 4 minutes of the first half, and those 3 runs by King Miller, those first 4 minutes of the second half, those plays, that individual brilliance really created the separation. Then the game was on SC's terms, and Michigan could do nothing about it, being down 2 scores, being down 3 scores, and then forced to play a way they could not. So as much of this as it was a comprehensive team victory, and it certainly was, right down from coaches to the players, the individual brilliance of these 2 guys had a lot to do with the outcome of this game.
100%. Yeah. I mean, Mekhi Lemon is just so fun to watch play football. He's just so technically sound, just good at everything. I mean, his hands, his reliability. I mean, he's that guy that, and I hope this isn't the case, but somehow NFL teams are going to talk themselves out of because the measurables are not as elite, the elite speed, the elite size, and somehow NFL GMs are going to talk themselves out of it, and he's going to make them all regret it.
Absolutely.
He's just so good at everything. Like, there's nothing he doesn't do that's good. Blocking, he's good. His mentality is so, he should be. Jeremiah Smith can't come out, so he should be the first receiver, in my opinion. There's probably some bias there, but I just think he's that good.
I mean, no bias at all. I mean, especially with Smith not coming out. I mean, this should be a no-brainer that he should be the number one receiver coming out of the draft. There's no question about it. And his ability to get open, his hands, his feet after the catch. I mean, we're watching one of the truly great USC receivers of the last 20 years here, and I think it's going to be a battle with him and Smith for the Biletnikoff here moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How fun is that? So that's great. Yeah. NFL scouts, Paul K. Lemon at number 1. Yeah, he was, and some scouts had him at 1 actually before the season. So there were some guys not sleeping on him. Others were. So, well, this has been fun. Great victory Sunday. Thank you, everyone. A lot of people in here on a Sunday. Amazing. Love seeing it. So, this is what this town, this city, this team needs is big program wins. Michigan, there'll be people, I know, man, that come out and say, well, this is not that great of a Michigan team. I mean, they were the 15th ranked team. So it is what it is, whether they were overranked or not. USC did, as we've been recording, AP poll just came out. They bumped back into the top 25. They're at 21 now. I haven't seen the whole list. I'm curious. I was going to make a joke when Oklahoma lost to Texas that somehow Texas would then jump back into the top 15 and Oklahoma would move to like 11.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that happened. I haven't looked at it, but we know how the AP loves the SEC, but USC is back in the top 25 at 21. And as long as they take care of business the rest of the season, I mean, they control their own destiny. So real quick, before we go, just off USC, I mean, what'd you think of that Indiana win over Oregon up in Eugene? Indiana's the real deal.
Man, oh man, that I did not see Indiana being able to go into Eugene and do what they did. Yeah. And I think the scary part here, Rye, is Indiana had 6 sacks in that game and really kind of dominated the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And this is not even last year's Indiana team. Indiana is a legit national title contender at this point. And so they are putting not just the Big Ten, but everybody else on notice that this team is for real. 2 top 10 wins now. That was Indiana's first top 5 victory since 1967. That was 60 years of what's going on there. Indiana's the real deal. And I think, if you just looked at resume this year and not who's the defending national champion or, kind of storylines early in the season, I believe that based just on resume and how they've looked this year, Indiana should be the number 1 team in the country. Yeah,
I wouldn't disagree at all. And not to do one of these, but if you remember, I said Fernando Mendoza, probably the best QB in the Big Ten coming into the season.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone was sleeping on him and obviously Jade Mailava, and those are clearly right now, I think, the top 2 QBs in the Big Ten. So, well, thank you everyone for hanging out. Madman, thank you as always. Great to see you. Looking good. With chilly LA morning, got the hoodie on, looking good.
Got the hoodie, man. We're walking the baby this morning in the neighborhood, so keeping the hoodie on,
those morning walks with the baby are the best.
No doubt.
I'm looking forward to doing that again here in a few months. For anyone that wants it, I just dropped the link in the comments for the shirt. I know a few people actually asked for it, so that's great. So make it easy on you. It's right there. Pick that up. We'll be back all week. Daily coverage here, the USC Trojans on USC LAFB. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. You can check out all of our USC content on LAFBnetwork.com. We're launching a new message boards. We got a forum up there we can all hang out in and chat, make it easy when we're not here on live video. So for the Madman, I'm Ryan. Thank you all. Everyone have a fantastic victory Sunday. When do the Dodgers play? Are they Monday or Tuesday? I don't know if they've released the schedule. Have they?
I'm not sure. Actually.
I don't think they've released it yet. It'll be Dodgers Brewers. I'm sure it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday.
Dodgers winning it all, folks. Let's get ready for the parade. Baby. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go.
Love it.
Mariners, Dodgers in 5 in the World Series.
Oh, that'd be fun. Would love that. So, all right, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Everyone enjoy your Sunday. We'll talk to you all throughout the week.